Howdy, y'all, and welcome to the MrMaple Show. I'm Tim.
And I'm Corbin.
And y'all, today we've got a really cool video where we talk a little bit about Nadasan, Japanese gardening, and some cool things. Y'all, I'm super excited. You know, Nadasan is one of our friends from Japan. When we were over in Japan, he taught us how to garden. And it was so cool that we were on this TV show, Nippon Nikitai, that he took us to go visit him. That this past fall, before the hurricane, he was able to come and visit us here at MrMaple.
Yeah, it was really awesome. You know, I'd heard Matt and Tim talk a lot about Nadasan, and to get to meet him and his daughter was just an awesome time, especially getting to go see some of the natural beauty around Western North Carolina and the surrounding areas.
Y'all, we're MrMaple.com, a family mail order business. We ship directly to your door. We do over 1,000 varieties of Japanese maples. So we'd appreciate if you shop with us on MrMaple.com. Also like, subscribe, and share this video, especially with your gardening friends. You know, it'll be really cool so they can sort of see, some of the things we're covering in this video on nature and Japanese gardening. Now, we had named a Japanese maple Looking Glass Falls, and in a sort of a follow-up video with Nippon Nikitai, we had showed this to Nadasan because, we named it after a local waterfall. So when he was here, he said, I want to go see Looking Glass Falls. So I took him to Pisgah National Forest, and we were able to go and see Looking Glass Falls. Such a beautiful atmosphere. I mean, when Nadasan was here, he kept saying, I want to go. He wanted to see gardens, but he also wanted to go see nature. And this was really important to him to understand the essence of nature in the areas in Western North Carolina.
Yeah, I think something that I kind of gained from him is he was just so present in the moment. He was taking pictures of so many things. He was just so curious about everything and just taking it all in, being in America and, kind of getting that MrMaple experience.
Now, Looking Glass Falls is right off the road where you can actually pull up, park next to the road, and then walk down this staircase. And it's this rock staircase to actually see Looking Glass Falls. And it is just a sight to see. I mean, it is huge. I mean, I'd say probably every bit of 50 to 70 feet. I mean, it is a dynamic in its height, and it's just so loud. And I mean, that's one of the reasons we don't have any audio well from this video, is because the waterfall is so loud it covers over all your audio.
Yeah, I know. And this was, right after we had gone to Charlotte. Nadasan and Tim were so full of energy. They went on a little detour to Looking Glass Falls, and I mean, you can see just how happy he is right there to get to see this place. And it was a magical time.
He kept telling me, look at nature here, big rock, small rock, medium rock, water flowing, and kept talking about basically how there is this grouping of the rocks there in nature's own garden and how it flows naturally, and how the big rock's there, but the medium rocks got caught with the big rock, and the small rocks get caught with the small rock. And that is how you need to sort of pair them all together. Was, you've got all this that goes together to give this natural aesthetic.
Yeah, I think that's something, I really enjoyed. Obviously, I knew that there's some different ideologies about gardening in Japan, that they plant their trees a little bit different to kind of mimic nature. But to see how Nadasan takes all of these inspiration points and kind of puts them into a garden was something very interesting to me, and something I'll hang on to for a while.
I mean, it was shocking to me. I mean, I knew we wanted to see nurseries. I knew we wanted to see Japanese maples because that was what his place is. And he really said, I want to go see nature. So literally afternoon, after everyone went home from work, we took him out to go see nature out here at Looking Glass Falls. And here he is describing to me again, big rock, small rock, medium rock, and water flowing. And that's exactly what he's saying right here. And you just get this idea of him really studying nature to then try to recreate it, which I think is amazing. I think that's an amazing way to garden, is when you're creating a portrait, knowing what you want to do, how you want to recreate it, and taking natural things like Looking Glass Falls and then trying to recreate that. I think that's just exceptional.
Yeah, I love the idea of that, kind of looking at what niches our plants fill. whether that be kind of an understory growth of a Japanese maple or, something that's going to be one of those shade trees. Going out and figuring out how they grow in nature in your area, and then trying to recreate that in your garden and make just like a little slice of nature out there in your backyard.
It was real interesting. Nadasan, though, he spoke a very minimal English. He could understand parts of English, but he always had the translator running on his phone. And so if you watch some of our walkthroughs and you saw him looking at his phone, it was because he was watching what the phone was actually saying to try to understand what was going on, because his daughter wasn't translating every single word that was said. And so it was really a fun time this whole time he was here, just getting to spend time with him again and see how his views on gardening were different or similar to our own. Yeah, the waterfall at Looking Glass Falls, though, it is a natural beauty. And if you're ever coming to a Mr. Maple open house, this is probably 35 minutes away from Mr. Maple. And so you can actually you can come to Mr. Maple and maybe get a Looking Glass Falls Japanese maple and then go visit Looking Glass Falls, bring your swim trunks, have a good time, because you can actually get in the water there at Looking Glass Falls underneath the waterfall. We weren't that adventurous that day, but you can actually go out and experience Looking Glass Falls in a very different way. And it's amazing to be able to see just how everything has been carved out by nature right there. It was such an amazing time, and it's always fun going out and seeing nature with Nadasan.
Now, this was one of my favorite things that we did. After going up towards Missy Galloway's house, we took a little detour and we hit up an one of my favorite hiking spots. It's not too rigorous of a hike, but it's a Craggy garden up on the parkway. And this is where I really started to kind of admire, I guess, Nadasan's eye. Because we were walking through, he was noticing all of the kind of native flora, how it was growing together, how rock formations happen in the area, and what kind of grows on top of that. And I think that was just so awesome.
And shout out to Sean Richardson, because I came out here to Craggy Gardens on a cold fall day and didn't realize how cold it was going to be or how windy. And I'm actually wearing Sean's shirt there because I literally had a polo short sleeve shirt and shorts, so I was up there freezing until Sean let me borrow that shirt. But it's so cool to get out there again. Nadasan, he's out there, he's observing every little aspect of nature and thinking, how can I recreate this in a garden? And I think that is exciting. I think that's one of the reasons why the king of Bhutan brought Nadasan to Bhutan to study the environment and then create a Bhutan garden with the Japanese idea of recreating nature.
Yeah, and Craggy Garden, if you have a chance to go out there, it's so amazing. Swarms of sort of rhododendrons, and there's exposed rock faces, there's old horse chestnuts, and all sorts of crazy plants. We went up there on a cloudy day, so you couldn't really see the view, and it was very windy.
And I was hiding away in the rocks trying to avoid the wind, because it was a windy day. The wind was just whipping up top. I mean, it's such a fun time just going up and doing this before we went and saw Missy's garden. And Missy's garden is very different. I mean, this is extreme nature. Missy's is a cultivar, conifer, and maple garden on top of a mountain where you get to see amazing views. We have a full walkthrough on that too if you want to go check that video out. It's the garden with Missy and Wayne Galloway.
Yeah, and then we kind of transition here back in Matt and Tim's time in Japan, kind of showcasing, I guess, that thought of, going out and seeing nature again, this time in Japan, kind of seeing those qualities of nature that Nadasan will turn into this Japanese garden at the end of their visit.
Yeah, I mean, he took us out there in the wild, in the Fukushima prefecture, to see how Japanese maples grow naturally in Japan. And it was interesting because all these maples point outward across the river, which isn't how I thought a maple would be growing, because what it's doing is it's seeking out the sunlight. And the way it points out over the river is just so amazing. And you wouldn't think about recreating it in that way. And there's Matt and I with Nadasan there in the Fukushima prefecture, seeing how these maples that are wild in fall color, I mean, those are Japanese maples in fall color, are just naturally growing out over the river. And it was so cool to go out and see this. And then we went back to his nursery and recreated the garden. And I'm talking, it was us recreating the gardening as much as we were going to his nursery, digging up trees in his garden, or digging up trees around his nursery, sweating our butts off to create a Japanese garden there in Japan. And it was fun. It was exciting. It was one of those things, you know, a moment in a lifetime to be able to get to understudy under Nadasan, who is famous worldwide now for Japanese gardening, and learn how he has a vision and how he tries to recreate what he sees in nature.
Yeah, and you can see right there, you know, the dry riverbed that's kind of been recreated, the Japanese maples kind of reaching over the riverbed right there, and just kind of how it flows through.
And the river that you see there, those are leaves we collected. So those are leaves from Japanese maples there as the river in that dry riverbed. So cool to be able to recreate this here and see that in Japan and actually build the Japanese garden. And it's just seeing what nature is. And when we were here, Nadasan said, take me up on your land. And so I grabbed my father-in-law's side-by-side, and we went up the mountain and we studied rocks. And he was up there taking photos of rock formations there on my land to try to understand how we should recreate a Japanese garden.
Yeah, I think that just adds such another deeper layer to gardening. You know, it's not just about collecting. It's not just about making something aesthetically pleasing, but trying to, you know, recreate the essence of nature.
And as you see here, he is recreating what he's seen in nature. And we asked him to develop a garden for us, and this is his design. And, you know, later this spring, we're hoping to be able to put this garden together for you in another video so you can understand Nadasan's thoughts and see everything come full circle of us learning in Japan, Nadasan coming over and mentoring us to build this garden here with his design.
Yeah, I think it's such an awesome opportunity to kind of bring something to life that has this beautiful kind of one half, you know, of Japan, one half of America coming together and building something that we both kind of had a hand in, and kind of having something that is an answer to that Japanese garden that y'all built in Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's so cool. And I think it's one of those things that we'll be able to share forever, and that travel with Nadasan in Japan, here in America, but then being able to build a garden that we can just really appreciate. You know, it's one of those things where just seeing how he has this vision for Japanese gardening, and it's the recreation of nature. I mean, how beautiful is that? I mean, you take what God has already put out there in nature, and then you're trying to recreate it. I mean, I don't think you get much more perfect than that.
I agree, man. It adds a whole nother layer. It adds a whole another level of beauty. And, you know, it's just kind of striving for the perfection that already exists out there, it's such an amazing idea.
Well, y'all, we appreciate y'all jumping in today's video. It's a little bit different than a normal walkthrough. We really hit up sort of the idea and the essence of Japanese gardening and what Nadasan has showed us about Japanese gardening. Hope you enjoyed some of the looks at Looking Glass Falls and some of the travels we had with Nadasan. Take care.
God bless.
And have a great day.